Hey everybody, this is JK Sweber here. So I've abducted and kind of held hostage Amis. Yeah, he says that premium deck profiles don't go well, but I love Gaia Emperor so much, so here's Gaia Emperor. I got too excited. Yes, wow, Gaia Emperor. Well, yes, so with the new release of the History Collection, the announcement of them remaking some of the old strides, I kind of had some ideas to make Gaia Emperor. Because it's I love Gaia Emperor. If anybody knows me, I love Tachikaze, so this is the profile for it. So let's start the great trees. Simple. So for the first great tree, your main one is going to only be like Gaia Emperor. I played 3 copies of the G one and 1 copy of the V. So for the G copy, the effect is very simple. Its first effect is Engorge. So basically, the running gag or running thing around the entire Tachikaze for G is Engorge, whereby you just basically destroy one of your other units, a rear guard set specifically, and you become an engorged state. So you're full now. Yes, so you can now do a lot of things. And then its other ability on Vanguard Circle is Con +1. When your G unit is strike this turn, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose out 2 cards from your hand, call them, and then you can give 2 other rear guards the skill that when it's retired from Rear Guard Circle, you can call it again. So wow, recursion. Born. Yes, good Argus, yes. Then GB2 from the Vanguard Circle, if you didn't strike, it's just, if it's engorged, it's a +5k 1 crit. You will never do this skill, because you should never be on it just raw by itself. Now for the V, Gaia Emperor, the one that a lot of people say was underpowered, you only play 1. Yeah. So this is only happens if you don't actually go first. Yeah, which basically was to abuse the new stride outrated that they actually remade specifically for Tachikaze. So for the V1, the skill is during your turn, all your rear guards with your crit gauge get +5k. If your opponent is grade 3 or greater, then you get +10k instead. Then the other skill is when it attacks, you counter +1 and retire a rear guard. Wow, Engorge, remake. Then the unit's original power for retire for the cost is given to Gaia. And then if your opponent is grade 3 or greater, you get +1 crit. Yeah. It gets original critical, it's just 1 crit normally. Yeah. But that's just the grade 3s. If you're not counting your heal guards. Yeah, all this is all continuous. Yeah, so Gaia Emperor skill is also during your turn continuous. Yeah, and now we're gonna move on to the grade 2s. Yeah, grade 3 later on you'll see heal guards. So this is the grade 2 lineup. They're all more dinos. Wow, dinos, Jurassic Park. Okay, we're gonna go through them one by one. Let's go through the ones that people probably know by now because they're from the V era. I play 4 copies of Megarex. Megarex is just your very nice, very cute, very simple one. When it attacks, you may pop a unit, and then when you pop, you actually can draw a card. Wow, simple. But its other skill is on top of that. When this unit is on Rear Guard Circle, you can counter +1. You can put the top card as a equip gauge, and then it gets +5k for every equip gauge attached to it. Important note is that you have to attack the Vanguard for it to be able to use the skill of retiring a rear guard to draw a card. So yeah, but it's just good recursion and it enables a lot of the things in the deck when you want to pop, right? So basically, what would you want to pop? You want to pop cards like Regiodon. Regiodon's skill is very simple. When it attacks, you can gauge 1 to any unit. Its second skill is one that's shared. Well, yeah, play 3 copies. Yeah, play 3 copies by the way. Yeah, and then the other skill is one that's shared with another great one later on that we'll talk about. It's just basically when this card is destroyed by any skill of your own card ability, you may call up to 1 card from its equip gauges, and then you may put the top card of your deck into that card's equip gauge as well. So basically, you call out 1 card from its equip gauge, then you gauge it as well. So this gives you multi-attacks, gives you more value, because equip gauges help you do a lot of things in this deck as well. So play 3 copies. Now, the other 3 copies that I play is going to be the for Pyro. The hostage is telling me you need to make centralize it. Is it centralized? Ah, it's centralized. Yeah, so the for Pyro skill is very simple. When you place it on Vanguard Circle, Rear Guard Circle from hand, you counter +1, you draw a card, and then you can call a card from your hand to Rear Guard Circle. Then you may put the top card of the deck as a gauge. And then the other skill is that this unit is placed on rear guard from the equip gauge, basically from your Regiodon or later on Blueprint, you get +10k, so it's a 19k beater. So just good target, good value engine. And now we move on to the old cards that are not really seen. So this card is a very old Engorge unit. While I now try to remember the name, I'm going to say its abilities first. Okay, its first ability, of course, Engorge. as all Engage units have. Basically, then it has another skill. This card actually cannot attack unless you have another Engage unit or if you have a Gaia name for the Vanguard. So very important that you either play this when you're on your Gaia turn or if you have another Engage unit. And we play only 2 copies because it doesn't really come out as much and it's just a good beater. Yeah, so I play 2 copies on that. And now I play one of my favorite cards, honestly, for G era Tachikaze that I could never play because you don't really have space in modern day premium list. It's actually Explosive Dragon Sako Blaze. So again, Engage. And then the second skill is Continuous Vanguard Rearguard Circle. During the battle this unit attacks, if it's in Engage state, your opponent cannot use Great Zeros. This is really good in the premium meta whereby most people play Great Zeros in your PGs and whatnot. So it's just good to deny them. It's annoying and it just kills off crucial pieces from the hand. So I play it. Really good, really nice. Now move on to our Great Ones. We play a bunch of variety of dinos again to buff up all the various items and your skills. So let's go over the ones that are quick first. Blue Sprint basically has the exact same skill as Regiodon. The only reason why you have to play 2 versions of them is that they are exclusively, the skill to call from the gauge is actually limited to once a turn for the same card name. So that's why you just have to make sure you play as many copies as possible. But I only play 2 because this deck there's other ways to recall, example from Gaia's skill. Okay, I play also the best Great One in Tachikaze, 3 copies of your Savage Shooter. So Savage Shooter skill is very simple. If you place it on Vanguard Circle, you can Soul Blast 1, you can draw a card, and then you can call a card and give it a gauge. This card is famously used in other lists to cheat out your Savage Mercenary for 27k. But for this deck, you just good value, good draw, and it just helps run stuff, start your engine moving early. Second skill is very simple. On Rearguard Circle, you can rest this unit, and then you can place a gauge from your drop into any card that does not have a gauge. So this also helps to build gauge on later turns whereby you need it. You can also specifically throw in stuff like Pyro into your Blue Spirit Regiodon, which is good, more power, more value. So yeah, we play 3 copies. Now for the 2 copies, we actually play the Engorge PG. So for this card skill, of course, it's a PG, that doesn't need to be explained. Then it also has a skill of Engorge, and then it has another skill. So for this card, if you are in GB1, you can actually Counterblast. And give me 1 second while I figure out and remember what this card does. Oh yes, there we go. So you can Counterblast, when it becomes Engorge, you actually may pay the cost of Counterblast 1. Then this unit gets plus 5k, so it becomes an 11k attacker. And then at the end of the turn, you may return this unit to hand. So this can actually become a bit of pressure, while at the same time, still putting as a PG back to hand. So that's good. Yeah, and we play 2 copies of it in the deck, mainly because later on, if you see in the deck, there's not as much space for your PGs in your deck, so I play 2 copies. Yeah. Now we talk about the Prison Birds, which is basically your Grade 3 Searchers and your Strike Fodder. I play a 2-2 split, so 2V and 2G. Simply put, for the V version, it's very well known. For all clans have them, Grade 3 Searchers. So basically, when you on place from hand, from Vanguard and Rearguard Circle, check top 5, and then get a Grade 3. If you get a Grade 3, discard a card, shuffle your deck. Simple. Then, if you have for this specific one, if you have placed a gauge this turn, you get plus 5k for the rest of the turn. Now for the old Strike Fodder Prison Bird, of course it's a Strike Fodder, so when you discard it for the cost of a stride, it's Grade 3. The other skill is that you can actually reveal this card on place. Right, on place, then after that you can reveal a Grade 3, from your hand, then you can specifically search out a Gaia and place it into your hand, then discard a card. You play this because 1 is Strike Fodder, and secondly, it's actually because there's certain times whereby it's not exactly ideal to play the G Gaia, which we play more of. So sometimes you do need to search out for the V Gaia to switch it out. So it's just options. So we play that combination. So now that was our main deck. No main deck, Grade Zeros. I almost forgot. Your triggers, you play for Grade 3, the Hue Guardians, because why would you not play Hue Guardians? You play for Colomagna, you play your OT, you play 2 draw PGs, And you play 3 of the Gaia critical trigger that they will also be remaking, as well as 2 strike for the crits. So I'll go with the simple ones first. Your OT is Dravada, your Vanguard stands, Broken, wow. We play 4 Heal Guardians, cause why won't you? If you need a recap, basically if you're grade 2 or less, then you just can use this to either give your Vanguard plus 10k for the rest of the turn, or give the opposing opponent's Vanguard minus 2 crit. Correct. Then if you have no cards in your damage zone, you can get plus 1 damage. If you get damage denied. I don't even know who does that at this point in time. Yeah. So then strike crits, because we only play 2 strike foders in deck, so just to round out 4 strike foders balanced. 2 draw PGs to balance out our PGs. So yeah, Sentinels, so good. Just some draw for pieces. And now we have the critical trigger that is used for Gaia that will, due to history collection, is now going to be revamped. So now this 5k you see can become 10k. This 10k you see for guard power becomes 15k. So it's now a V era card. Wow. And then for its skills, its skill itself is still the same. So you may put this into the soul from rear guard circle. And when your Vanguard attacks, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Gaia in its name, yeah, and then you can pay the cost to put it in the soul, draw a card, and choose one of your Vanguards and get plus 5k. The other skill is that Tachikaze is coming to real life from Vanguard 0. The update is real. That's right. You actually be able to get to draw a card if this card is checked in your damage check. So Vanguard 0 basically. So Tachikaze has been forgotten in Vanguard 0, so they're bringing it into the real life. That's right. That's the true update. Correct. So we play 3 of that. Cost space for the OT. Then we play Tachikaze's best trigger, Color Magnum. So Color Magnum's skill is basically GB1, put this unit to the bottom of the deck. When you place it to the drop zone from your rearguard circle during your own turn, you pay the cost. If you do, draw a card, and then choose one of your units, you get plus 5k, and then you shuffle your deck. You now have a stand trigger, back in your deck. So more multi-attack in the Tachikaze clan that already attacks a lot of times. Yeah, just good. And we actually also play not triggers, but 2 copies of Little Tyranno. So Little Tyranno is a really nice little starter. It has Forerunner. You will never use it, because you should never ride it for any reason. It's not a starter. So GB1, you can counter blast. And then when this card is placed into, or retired, specifically retired from rearguard circle for the effect or cost of your Vanguard, with Engorge specifically, you look at the top 4, and you can call up to 2 different cards with different names. And then you put this card in soul. Yeah. And you put the rest into any order to the bottom of the deck. It is very good. It's a very good card. It is a very cute dino. It is very good. Best boy. And then of course we play standard V-Era starter. Right, draw card. Why would you not play this? Value. Now we move on to our Great Force of Strike deck. We play 3 Nebiros, 2 Pharaoh, 2 Gaia, 2 other Gaia. This is Devastate. This is which one is this called? I'm trying to remember. Which one? This was Dynast. Yeah, this was Dynast. Yeah, for G0s you play a bunch. You play the new one. You play 2 copies of the new one actually. Yeah. You play 2 copies of the new one, and then you play a bunch of other ones, which I'll explain slowly. Okay, let's talk about G0s first, since they're in the front. So let's talk about Regagarda, which is actually the one that we got from the 2022 Premium Collection. So basically, G-Guard is when you discard a heal from your hand to get it from your from your G-Zone, So when this unit is placed into Guardian Circle, you can retire any number of rear guards, and for each one you get plus 10k shield. So good, beefy shield. At the same time though, you can draw a card for each unit that was destroyed with a equip gauge. So just good in a deck that has pretty big equip gauge numbers. We also play 1 copy of Blockade Ganga. So Blockade Ganga's skill is to choose one of your rear guards and retire it, and then it gets plus 10k shield, and until end of turn you can choose 2 other rear guards, and until end of turn they get, when this unit is retired, turn this unit back to hand. So against decks that may retire when they attack, or it's also good for your pieces that you want to return back to hand after you intercept. So yeah, nifty little card, but 1 copy because not as relevant now. Bullish Primer is your big fat G Guardian as well. GB1, you can choose a face down G Guardian flip it face up. Then you may pay this cost to get plus 5k for each of your empty open circles. That includes XLs, so this can get pretty big with all the XL circles, and yeah, with the Gaia, yeah, which with the new Arc Raider as well. So let's talk about it. So these two blank face down cards are actually the Arc Raider. I do not have the original print. I'm so sorry, Tachikaze fans. But Arc Raider has been again revamped in History Collection. Big note, we are releasing and filming this right way before they actually release Arc Raider's actual skill. So we're going by the stream's talk about what they do for Garbly. So we're assuming that similarly, when you are on, of course, a Gaia Vanguard, as you can see here, you can actually pay the cost of strike to strike even though your opponent's not on grade 3, right? And then if you have not got any imaginary gifts as well, then from there you can flip out one copy of the same card, so okay, another Arc Raider, and then you get 2 markers. In this case, we are going to be assuming that it's the XL, of course, because it's Tachikaze. So we're assuming that it's an XL circle, so you get 2 XL2s, which is draw 2. So this basically, this effect really changes everything, because now on your first Gaia turn with your G Gaia, you can actually go up to 9 attacks pretty reliably with your Color Magnum, your Regiodons, your Blue Sprints. So this really changes up things quite a bit. So the other abilities we're going by Garblade as well is that the attack will hit no matter what. The effect will go off for its main skill, and that is actually to choose one of your rear guards and retire it, and then when it attacks the Vanguard, it gets plus 5k, and then if your attack hits, which now doesn't care anymore because of the new skill, then you can choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire. This is a little like cherry on top. The main part is really the synergy of this card of the XLs and Gaia Emperor himself. It's a bit sad that this card probably won't get engorged. With a bit more synergy with a lot more cards with just engorged name, but just retiring units itself is pretty good anyways. It gets a lot of combos going, 9 attacks reliably. So I think it's still pretty good. So these two become Arc Raiders. Now we'll go through still my favorite stride of the deck, Nebiros. This was released to us in the, I believe, 2020 Premium Collection. And Nebiros has a few very simple but very strong skills. Firstly, Nebiros is an engorged unit. So again, destroy to become engorged state. When this card becomes engorged, you can choose 2 of your opponent's rear guards to retire them. So again, retire control. Then you can turn a G unit face up and then put a total of 5 rear guards or equip gauges and then restand this. This card is basically a retrain of a very old card called Gluttony Dogma, but Dogma lost drive. So this doesn't lose drive, so this is still a triple drive restanding Vanguard. Its other skill in Gzone is that once per turn, for the card itself, you can, if this card is face up, you can so +1, put the top card of your deck as gauge for any unit, and that unit becomes engorged until the end of the turn. So you can enable many of your other engorged unit skills, like Sako Blaze, or the 11k base. Yeah, so it's just a lot of combos you can go off just once you flip one copy of Nebiros, which is just good. Yeah, just good stuff. So this is your killing turn if your first Arc Raider cheese turn doesn't go well, or you go second. This will be your ideal stride. But of course, we play other backups. So let's talk about the other Gaia-based strides. So I play 2 copies of Gaia Devastate. Gaia Devastate is probably the last Gaia unit we got in G. Its skill is Engorge again, and then counter +1. You can choose a face-down unit with the same card name, so Persona G-Flip. Then when this unit becomes Engorged, you may pay the cost, draw a card. You can choose any 2 circles other than Vanguard Circle for each of your face-up cards in G-Zone, sorry. Then put all the cards in the circles into drop zone. Please take note that markers do not count in this. So yeah. On top of that, if 3 or more cards were placed from this card's ability, this card plus 10k, 1 crit and 1 drive. So it's really good later game if you really get to that point. Yeah. Next we play 2 copies of Gaia Dynast. Yeah, Gaia Dynast is another engorge, is a GB3. The GB3 skill is when a rear guard is retired by this unit, you may counter +1. If you do, call that card the rear guard circle. That unit and this unit gets plus 3k. And then again, Persona Flip for the other ability. When this unit is engorged, you can choose one of your rear guards and retire all rear guards in the same column, and then counter charge one. So it enables itself, counter charges, it kind of does things. You normally don't go into this. It's a very last ditch effort if you're really out of good options. But it's just interesting because it still has interactions with your Regiodon, your Blue Sprint, your Engorge units, so we still play it as a backup. Finally, we play one of the strikes that should never really be coming up in this specific build, which is Giganto Pharaoh. So again, this is another Engorge unit we got in Premium Collection 2022. So when this unit gets engorged, which is an engorged unit, counter +1, you turn a card face up, any card, then choose the same number of rear guards and the same number of units retired by this unit's engorged, and until end of turn, they all get plus 10k, and then they all get an ability once per turn, they can Soul Blast 1 to restand itself. So this is just simple. If you just don't have a lot of good targets, you have a bunch of Mega Rexes or Engorge units lying around, you can just, play them, kind of combine them with your Sako Blaze to get some good value. So that's the entire deck list for Gaia. I'm thinking this deck, as many people say, because of the new Arc Raider not actually having Engorge to not be very good. But in my opinion, and testing it with Amis himself, I think we can attest that this deck still has a lot of firepower just by having those 2 XLs early game, having Gaia's skill to recall. It's a lot of pressure, and when your opponents are still at grade 2, that pressure really can kill. And even going second, you will still have cards like Nebulos, the other Gaias to really still push, and you still have options like the V Gaia to, have any backup. So it's a pretty fun deck. Do try out if you have the pieces. Do pick out in the history collection. But yeah, I guess that's all. And all we can say is that since Vanguard Zero's not gonna give us our Tachikaze update cry, we'll just have to play in real life.
Help me.